Welcome back to The Explainer. So let's talk about something we literally all deal with every single day. How to take back control of our personal data without, totally giving up the AI productivity tools we rely on. Let's look at how we can keep our digital lives actually private.
Think about the last time you used a chatbot to analyze a file. Did you feel it? That tiny, lingering pause right before you hit upload on a sensitive bank statement, or your ID, or maybe even your family's medical records? Uploading personal documents to the cloud is so normalized now, but let's be real, it gives us all a little spike of growing anxiety, right? Because we know that once you click that button, your private info is just out there, sitting on some server you can't see and definitely don't control.
And it's this massive modern friction we're all stuck in. On one hand, you've got the insane convenience and sheer speed of cloud-based AI. We all want that interactive layer for our documents. But on the other hand, there's the really unsettling reality of your personal data privacy being compromised. Because we can't see what's actually happening behind the curtain at these massive tech companies, it is so incredibly easy to just sweep that discomfort right under the rug and accept the trade-off. But we don't have to do that anymore. Here's our roadmap for the Explainer today. First, the cloud privacy dilemma. Then we'll introduce Cherry Studio, look at how local RAG actually works, dive into assistance and reusable prompts, and finally wrap up with MCP Direct Folder Access.
All right, starting right off with Section 1, the Cloud Privacy Dilemma.
Look, tools like Claude and Gemini are absolutely phenomenal for general tasks, but they just aren't the answer for highly sensitive files. AI adoption is inevitable. Cloudbots probably know our coffee orders better than we do at this point, but we really need to stop sweeping the reality of uploading sensitive IDs and medical records under the rug. You don't have zero power here. You still get to decide exactly what information you give these cloud providers access to. A good rule of thumb, if you wouldn't be comfortable with a document being open to the public, it shouldn't be handed over to a cloud bot. With just a little extra effort, we have the power to keep certain aspects of our lives entirely off the cloud.
Which brings us to Part 2. Enter Cherry Studio.
This is such a fascinating solution. It's the perfect bridge that brings the sheer power of AI right into the safety of your own local machine. Now, it isn't just another basic chat wrapper, it's a completely free, open-source desktop app designed as a full AI workspace. It runs beautifully on Windows, Mac, Linux, the whole shebang. It hooks right into major cloud models like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Gemini. But here's the real kicker. It flawlessly supports local models through Ollama or LM Studio. Setting up a local server through LM Studio takes literally 2 minutes and boom, you have a fully self-hosted stack. Plus, you can even send the exact same prompt to multiple models at the exact same time and compare their responses side by side. It's a game changer.
Moving on to Section 3, how local RAG works.
So you might be wondering, how does your computer actually read PDFs, Word docs, Excel files, and PowerPoints without the cloud? Well, it uses this clever piece of technical magic called RAG, or Retrieval-Augmented Generation. It's basically a 3-step process. First, your documents get chunked, broken down into smaller, manageable pieces of text. Second, those chunks are turned into a searchable index. Think of it like a massive, highly organized library catalog. Finally, when you ask a question, the system pulls only the most relevant chunks from that index and feeds them to the AI model right alongside your prompt. That's how it handles way more content than could ever fit into a standard context window. You just drop your files in, and the AI's responses are totally grounded in your own content. But hold on, because there is an absolutely critical security caveat here that you must understand. To build that searchable index we just talked about, you have to use an embedding model. If you use a cloud embedder, like OpenAI's, to do this, your documents are still getting sent to that provider during the indexing phase. Your data is leaving your machine. So, to make your RAG setup fully local and private, using a local embedding model is absolutely mandatory. Fortunately, Cherry Studio makes this super easy. It allows you to download and use local models right within the app, ensuring your sensitive data, your API keys, your chats, and your attachments never, ever leave your hard drive.
All right, Part 4. Assistance and reusable prompts.
Because look, going local first doesn't mean we have to step back into the stone age of workflow efficiency. Actually, it's quite the opposite. Cherry Studio ships with over 300 pre-tuned assistants right out of the box. This completely elevates it above your standard AI chat interface. You can instantly deploy an editor bot, or a legal affairs bot for analyzing bank documents, or a medically tuned doctor bot to help synthesize your personal health records. The AI is already primed and focused for the exact specific task you need it for.
And when you combine those pre-built assistants with reusable prompts, the productivity gains are just phenomenal. You can write a complex prompt once and then assign a custom trigger word to it. So instead of typing out a massive set of instructions every single time you want to, say, balance your accounts at the end of the month, you just type your trigger word. It is incredibly simple, but it saves an invaluable amount of time on those tedious, repetitive chores.
Which brings us to our final section, MCP Direct Folder Access.
Now for the ultimate power user feature. This is how we stretch the model's capabilities even further without giving up a single drop of local control. The Model Context Protocol, or MCP. This is an open standard, actually created by Anthropic, that lets an AI model securely call external tools. Cherry Studio comes pre-wired with a bunch of these MCP tools right out of the gate. It can run a web search, check GitHub, and most importantly for us, access your local file system. You don't even have to constantly import documents into your knowledge base anymore.
To put that into perspective, you can literally just open the app and type, "Look at my tax 2025 folder and tell me what I paid in provisional tax." The file system MCP allows the AI model to read directly from your local disk on demand, synthesize the information, and give you the exact answer. It's basically like having a brilliant assistant sitting right inside your hard drive.
However, giving an AI direct access to your file system obviously carries some risks, so we have to talk about mandatory security precautions. Remember, you are still in control. You should only enable this MCP tool for specific chats where you actively need it. Always grant it read-only access, never let it write or delete files, and crucially, restrict its access to smaller, nested folders. Give it access to just your 2025 tax folder, rather than overarching access to your entire documents drive. If you manage the permissions, you manage the risk perfectly.
So, let's bring this all together. Keep the cloud for the public and keep Cherry Studio for the private. You can still use Claude and mainstream bots constantly for your everyday, non-sensitive tasks. But for your private life, local models in the 7 to 12 billion parameter range are highly competent at reading private snippets and synthesizing information from the content you provide. Cherry Studio gives you a flawless workspace for an advanced document workflow while keeping every single byte of data safely on your own machine.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final question to think about. Which sensitive document will you migrate to a secure local workspace today? You've got the tools, you have the knowledge, and you literally no longer have to compromise your privacy for productivity. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to go set up your own secure workspace right now.